cylinders today, and here's your paper, and it should be green, but I'm actually going to show you first this cool little cylinder that I have that is covered in construction paper. Yep, and it's not very neat, I apologize, but it is what it is. And I just wanted to show you, remember now we're jumping from volume to surface area. So surface area means how much area, if you were to take this apart and flatten it all out and find the area of all the pieces, what would it be? Okay, so a rectangular prism was all rectangles and squares, all right? Well, and polygons and triangles and what have you, but a cylinder introduces circles. So for those of you, maybe you've seen this before, maybe you haven't, but check this out. Okay, so if I were to, I can't take my plastic thing apart, but I can take my paper off. So you can see here that if I were to remove this and take it all apart, I would end up with not one, but two circles, right? So we've got two circles. There they are. And then I have the curved surface. This is what we refer to as the curved surface. Now, if I were to cut it in half, or I don't know, just untape my paper here. Oh, hopefully it doesn't rip. Shoot. What shape would I be left with here? What shape, if I flatten it out, would this be? Okay, and most of you, hopefully, you yelled at home or wherever you're at, a rectangle, because that is what it is. Now let's talk about, we know how to find areas of circles and areas of rectangles. We've been doing that for a while. So circles are both pi radius squared. So that's both of them. So we have 2 at pi r squared. But this rectangle, which we usually say length times width, we'll take a look and see how that relates to our cylinder. Now this is still our height of our cylinder. So I can write that h. But what is this distance from here to here? What's our length, if you will? And if we think about it, where did it come from? That was wrapped around, it's the distance around or the circumference of our circle. So the circumference, which equals diameter times pi, or if we want to keep things in terms of radius, because we have it already, 2 pi r. Now you're probably thinking, why would you write 2 pi r and not 2 r pi? I could have, but here is why. Because to find the area of this rectangle, I now have 2 pi r times h. And we are adding that to not one circle, but 2 circles. So the surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. See how that rolls off the tongue? So 2 circles and a rectangle. I'm going to point that out because when you get to some word problems, sometimes they talk about that. They say, you know, I know that one example was a waste paper basket. You know, if I had a waste paper basket, you know, it's open on one end, but it's a cylinder. So in a waste paper basket, if I were finding this total surface area, I wouldn't do this 2 because I only have 1 circle. So it's important that you understand it's 2 circles and 1 rectangle. All right, so take a minute if we need to pause me and copy that down on your foldable. So surface area of a cylinder, and I'm going to get to that, and you can see that some of this is already laid out for you. Okay, talking about a net, that's just basically what it looks like if you take it all apart. So I basically showed you this with my little cylinder that I had for you. So you can maybe skip over that. What I didn't talk about was lateral area. Okay, so if I'm talking about a cylinder, the lateral area is just this area, just the curved part. So it's just the rectangle. So notice 2 pi r h. And then if I want total area, I'm going to add 2 circles. So they put their 2 circles last. Now, we've been talking about exact answers and all that jazz for quite a while. So we're going to I'm going to drive that home today because I'm going to make you write your answer both in terms of pi and then an approximate answer using your calculator. So the surface area right here. Here's the lateral area plus the whole area, just substituting it in. All you need is your height and your radius and you're good to go. All right, so let's flip this baby over and let's show you exactly what I want to see. Now on your worksheet, I've got specific blanks for you. Okay, it starts out like this: surface area equals, and I have a blank plus a blank, because remember, we have two circles plus a rectangle. So 2 pi radius squared plus 2 pi radius times height. And I know that one's laying on its side, but its height is 9. All right, this is now an exact answer. Your exact answer. I want you to leave these in terms of pi. So right here, this is 9 times 4, or times 2, which is going to be 18 pi. And this is 2 times 3, it's just 6, and 6 times 9, which is 54 pi. And now I can add that, because pi is kind of like a variable. 18 pi plus 54 pi, so 18 plus 54 is 72 pi. That's our exact answer. Now our approximate answer, we're going to multiply it times pi and round it. It's approximate because we're rounding. So here's this one, and we should get 226 point to the nearest tenth, so 0.2 feet squared. We're going back to squared because it's area. All right, be careful of that. But this is all on your worksheet. It's going to be very laid out for you, and it'll be okay. You will be okay, I promise. All right, so continue to do that. Take a look at B. Again, they're being tricky. They gave us a diameter, so we have to remember that the radius is 7. So the surface area, remember, is 2 circles plus a rectangle. So I've got 2 pi 7 squared plus 2 pi times the radius times the height. So I got 49 times 2, which would be 98 pi. 2 times 7, which is 14 plus 10, 140 pi. 98 plus 140 gives me 238 pi. That's my exact answer. And then my approximate answer, when I multiply by pi and round, is 747.7 centimeters squared. And that is how I want you to show me your work. I'm going to continue. There's really nothing more here. I'm going to continue to keep working. You can feel free to pause me at any time and write down. Okay, so letter C. These are cool word problems because it's kind of leaves interpretation for your equation. So I'm just going to write it up here. Your equation is 2 pi r squared, 2 circles plus a rectangle. Find the area of the label of a can of tuna with a radius of that and height of that. Now, the label of the can, how many of you have gone to the grocery store and looked at a can of food and saw that the label was not only on the curved area but also on the circles? You're right, they don't. So the only thing they want in here is they don't want the circles. So no circles. So we don't need the 2 pi r squared. We don't need that part. We only need the 2 pi radius of 5.1 times 2.9. Okay, and now we got decimals in there. So 5.1 times 2.9 times 2 is going to give me 29.58 pi, which we then multiply by pi and round. So 92.9 centimeters squared. All right. Now, find the total surface area of a cylindrical candle, which both of them are, with a diameter of 4. Oops. So a radius of 2 and a height of 2.5. So total surface area. So we need 2 pi radius squared plus 2 pi radius times height. So I'm going to do this as much as I can without a calculator. That's 4. 4 times 2 is 8 pi. 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2.5 is 10 pi, which gives me 18 pi, which is 56.5. It is so much easier for me to do this in my head if I can. If I've got nice numbers, I don't need my calculator till that very last step. I mean, I'm trying to teach you tricks that help you in the long run, make you more accurate in your answers, and maybe even save you some time. I know you think I'm crazy, but I swear it will save you time. Okay, so surface area right here we got. Just bringing it back. 2 pi times 6 squared plus 2 pi times 6 times 10. So 36 times 2 is 72 pi. 2 times 6 is 12 times 10 is 120 pi. That gives me 192 pi. And 192 times pi is 603.2 yards squared. I should have put that in the top blank, but you guys are cool. You can handle that, right? All right, let's do this one. We have a radius of 5.5. So we've got 2 pi times 5.5 squared plus 2 pi times 5.5 times 8. All right, that 5.5 does make it a little icky. So we've got 60.5 pi, and then that's 88 pi. So 60.5 plus 88 gives me 148.5 pi, which then is 466.5 inches squared. There you have it. All right, this last vocab here, or this last word problem, find the total surface area of a water tank with a height of 10 meters and a diameter of 10 meters, which means a radius is 5 meters. Round to the nearest tenth. Now, think about this, a water tank. How many of you have water tanks that have covers on top of them? This is going to be an open cylinder. Yeah, we've got a bottom, but there's no top on there, no top. So this is tricky because our original equation is 2 pi radius squared plus 2 pi radius times height. But in this one, we're going to cross out this 2 because we don't have 2 circles. We just have the circle on the bottom. That's the only one we've got. We don't have a top because it's a water tank. Okay, I think. I guess now that I was thinking about a water tank that cattle would drink out of, but if like a water tank that you're hauling, never mind, you would need that top on there. I apologize. So never mind that. So 25 times 2 is 50 pi, and this would be 100 pi, so 150 pi, which is going to be, see, this is where growing up on a farm, when you hear the word water tank, you pretty much have one thing. You think it's a water tank that they drink out of, not a water tank to haul water. Silly me. So ignore that. You would need the 2. Anyway, if you've got questions, you have a green sheet. You'll notice on the green sheet I was very specific about, I even gave you room to show that, and approximate. Don't forget your labels. Labels are squared. Watch your word problems because there may be some where you don't include some of the circles or something like that, or you only have half of a cylinder. All right, good luck. Come and see me if you have any questions.